Namaste. I am Devat Maharaja and I would like to welcome you all to my YouTube channel called Brahma Gaje, a channel that is devoted to philosophical discourse. In this episode, I will provide a summary of day 3 of Srimad Bhagavad Katha that was held here locally in Maryland at a temple named the Greater Baltimore Temple. The temple is located in Finksburg, Maryland. This katha was conducted by the high priest of the temple, Acharya Sri Padmanabh Joshi. On this day 3, Panditji started with the concept that karma, good or bad, will bind you. And Panditji gives an example of shekels. It doesn't matter whether those shekels are made from iron or gold. Those shekels will still bind you. So your karma, good or bad, will bind you regardless. So the goal should be to become nish-karma, detached from those karma. A poetry by Narsi Mehta comes into mind, Dhyanadhar Netramanathache. And as the poetry goes further, there is a line that says, Karya Karma Nasashe. Meditate upon the search for higher truth, and you will become detached from your karmas, good or bad. And then you will be self-realized and attain the moksha, the nirvana. Your karma will not bind you anymore because you have attached yourself to the higher truth. We as beings constantly do karma. We are destined to do karma. As soon as we are born, we start doing karma. Breathing itself is a karma. So sometimes we do karma consciously, sometimes we do subconsciously. We do karma willingly or unwillingly, knowingly or unknowingly. But as Narsi Mehta provided the answer in the poetry that if you shall devote your attention to the search of higher truth, you can then detach yourself from those basic karmas. Panditji further talked about a story of Queen Kunti and her request to Shri Krishna. As we learned in last episode, that the war of Mahabharata had ended at this time and the good side had won with the help of Shri Krishna. The order had been restored and Pandavas were ruling the earth. And their mother, Queen Kunti, makes an interesting request to Shri Krishna. And her request is, Shri Krishna, give me unlimited, unbearable pain. What kind of a request is it? Usually you would request, something that will give you some benefit, not pain, right? Yet Kunti is requesting unlimited, unbearable pain. Give me unlimited pain, Krishna. Here we learn about one definition of the word Hari. Hari is another name for Krishna, and Krishna is another name for the higher truth. So Kunti makes a plea, a request to Krishna that give me unlimited pain because you are the Hari. This definition of Hari says that Hari is someone who takes away your pain and suffering. So the logic that Kunti has is that if I have unlimited amount of pain, that gives me, the Kunti, a reason to constantly seek the higher truth, Krishna. And therefore, Sri Hari will take away my pain and suffering and therefore be with me constantly, all the time. Kunti also, in her prayer, describes who is Hari. And Kunti says, Sri Hari, you are the source of our senses. Yet, our senses cannot recognize you unless we make an effort to search for the higher truth, to lift ourselves beyond those carnal senses. But you are the source of the senses. And yet, we cannot realize you unless and until we have made that effort. Why? Because we are in your Maya, in your illusion, and we spend our lifetime in that illusion, thinking, I am so-and-so, so-and-so is my mother, so-and-so is my father, brother, sister, this life, etc. This house, this car, this everything that I have, all the materialistic pleasures that I have. And we spend our lifetime thinking that those materialistic pleasures, those relationships, etc., that is the ultimate. And that is how we spend our entire life. Again, that is the Maya, that is the illusion, Sri Hari, you have created. But as soon as we lift ourselves beyond that and search the higher truth, we realize right away that you are at the source of it all. Panditji then talked about the idea that even the most powerful will perish. But what will not perish is the higher truth, Sri Hari. So again, devote yourself towards the search of higher truth. Detach yourself from the karma, like Kunti was also saying. And then you will discover the moksha, the nirvana. And this is very hard. It comes with first initiation, realization, and then your continuous practice towards it. And in the end, you will gain that higher truth. Narsimha Mehta's poetry comes into the mind that Mare Hari Namanu Nanu. My true wealth is the Sri Hari, the higher truth, nothing else. This materialistic wealth that I may have or I may possess is not the ultimate, because it doesn't last. My body doesn't last. This world that I'm living in doesn't last. But what does last is you, the Sri Hari. So you, Sri Hari, is my true wealth. Mare Hari Namanu Nanu. Panditji then talked about the story of Bhishma's and his departure. The Bhishma Pitama is the eldest family member of the Kuru Parivar. And the head of the family was Pitama Bhishma, who had sided with the evil because he thought that that was his duty, because he was the commander-in-chief of the Hastinapur, the kingdom, who was at war with Pandavas. So his duty was to protect the kingdom. Therefore, even knowingly, he was doing the bad karma. He knew this. He was very well learned and also a big devotee of Sri Krishna. But to him, his duty was to protect the kingdom of Hastinapur, who was at war with Pandavas under the leadership of Sri Krishna. So he knew eventually the bad side will be defeated. He will be defeated. He knew this. Yet he was doing the karma because he thought that was his duty. And with Sri Krishna's help, this undefeated warrior was defeated by Arjun, his grandson, who shot countless amount of arrows at Bhishma and made a bed for him, the bed of arrows. Bhishma didn't die because he had a boon given to him by his father, that he can only die when he chooses to die. When he decides that he wants to conclude his life, then and then he will die. That's why he lived such a long time. But this time, Pitama Bhishma realizes that the order has been restored by Krishna. Everything is in good hand. The kingdom that he was protecting now is ruled by his grandsons, the Pandavas, and everything is in good order. It's time for him to go. And when that time comes, everybody gathers around the body of Bhishma, who was again laying on the bed of arrows made by Arjun, his grandson. And Pitama Bhishma gives great advice to his grandsons, especially the king, Yudhishthir, about politics and so many other things. And then also recalls that how Shri Krishna, in the middle of the battlefield, before it started, gave the doctrine of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, when Arjun was in doubt, in Vishad. Why should I fight my kins, my uncles, my cousins? Why should I fight them? I don't want to fight. I don't want a kingdom. I don't want anything. I don't want anything. I don't want to fight. And surrenders. And that's when Krishna says, this is your duty. The evil has to be defeated. And your duty as the warrior is to defeat the evil. And you did try every single avenue, the avenue of non-violence, the avenue of request, every single avenue. And when everything else had failed and the evil was prevailing, this is your duty now to vanquish that evil, and I will be with you. And gives the courage to Arjun, and thus he fights the war. So Bhishma recalls that. And then he also recalls another really interesting incident in which Pitama Bhishma one day decides to make a commitment that he will convince Krishna to take a weapon. At the beginning of the war, Sri Krishna had decided that he would simply be a chariot rider of his best friend Arjun. He will not pick up any weapon. Again, he is the Sri Hari. He is the creator God. He is the maintainer God. He is the destroyer God. He is the ultimate. If he decides to perish, kill the evil, he can do it in a fraction of seconds. But this is again the Leela, the illusion, as Kunti had said again. So in that, knowing that, he had decided to simply be a chariot driver of Arjun, not picking up any weapon. He had made a promise to Arjun, he will not pick up any weapon. So Bhishma here, who is also a big devotee of Shri Krishna, had decided that yes, he is going to create a circumstance in which Krishna will have to break his promise. Again, Krishna doesn't have to. But there was this time when Bhishma was this great warrior attacking the good side in such a way that he was pretty much annihilating everybody. And he is again undefeated warrior. He cannot be defeated in war, not through simple means. So he was hurting Arjun, and Krishna, his chariot driver, becomes eventually very annoyed and very angry and rushes in the middle of the battle, stops the chariot, rushes at Bhishma. And Bhishma realizes this incident, that how his clothes were all over the place, and he was so angry, and Bhishma was still shooting arrows at Krishna, penetrating his body. The blood was going everywhere, yet the Krishna had gone after Bhishma as if a lion is going after a prey with all the vigor, with all the might, and sees this wheel of chariot in the ground and picks up the chariot and becomes the Sudarshan Chakra, the weapon, the mighty weapon of Sri Vishnu. And at that time, Bhishma then surrenders and bows down to Sri Hari and says, "Thank you so much for breaking your promise for your devotee, I, the Bhishma, who had made a commitment that you will give up your promise for me, and you indeed respected that request of mine and broke your promise for me. So I am indebted to you." And Pitama Bhishma, in his last seconds, again recalls this, and then eventually concludes his life. After that, we learned about Kunti's departure with the former king Dhritarashtra and Dhritarashtra's wife Gandhari, and also the minister of that time, Vidur. And they all depart to forest for meditation in search of higher truth, because Vidurji had at that time told then former king that, hey, you have been defeated. Let the new king rule. Now, just spend remaining life that you have in forest in search for higher truth, the ultimate truth. Meditate and finally let everything go. You're no longer the king. It's okay to let go. And the former king finally realizes that and does let go. Power is a very hard thing to let go. Even if you are defeated, you do not want to let go the power that you had. It is a very hard thing for anybody to do. But upon Vidur, the former minister's advice, the former king Dhritarashtra decides to finally depart. After that, we learn that Krishna Bhagavan finally decided that, hey, my time here is now over. Let me go towards Dwarika. And he goes to his kingdom, Dwarika. And Arjun, his best friend, the Pandav Arjun, the great archer Arjun, with his Gandiv, goes with Krishna for a few days. Again, they are relatives. Here, Parikshit, as we learned about in last episode, who was protected by Krishna, this unborn child in the womb of Uttara was protected from the mighty weapon Brahmastra, the weapon of the Creator God. He was protected by it, is finally born and takes shape. Then we learned about how one day Arjun had returned back from his trip and he was heartbroken. His clothes were all torn, his hair was messed up, he was completely depressed. And his elder brother Yudhishthir looks at him, and he also had a hunch the other day that something was terribly wrong with my younger brother Arjun. And yet it came true. He saw Arjun and he was in a helpless situation. The mighty warrior Arjun who helped Pandavas win the war against the evil is helpless, totally depressed, crying like crazy, like a baby. Totally devastated. And the Yudhishthir says to Arjun, what happened? Did you kill anybody? Did you kill a Brahman? Did you commit a bad act? What happened? Tell me. And Arjun says, all is lost. My best friend, our savior, Krishna, finally concluded his avatar. And without him, I am nobody. Again, without truth, everything is falsehood. Without my best friend Krishna, I am lost. And look what happened. I, the mighty warrior who could also not be ever defeated in war, was simply defeated by some simple gope guns. And they took my Gandhi, they took my wealth, they took everything that I had. They even took my clothes, my beautiful princely clothes, everything. And I could not even win against those simple gope guns. The peasants. I was defeated by them, brother. Can you imagine? Poetry comes into mind on this topic. Samay samay balwan, nahi manush balwan. Kabe Arjun lutiyo, wahi dhanush, wahi baan. It is your time that makes you Arjun. It is your time that makes you a king. Again, we learned about in the previous episodes, I am not the doer. Hun karu, ej ajnata Narsimha Mehta. You are not the doer. Ultimately, your destiny, your time is what makes you stronger or weaker. And when you don't have that time with you, when you are going through that bad time, doesn't matter who you are, you will be lost. It is the same Arjun who could never be defeated in war, says the poetry, was defeated by simple peasants. But again, the ultimate gist behind Arjun's message to his brother is, without my colleague, my cousin, my best friend Krishna, I am lost. Without truth, life is full of falsehood. And I am not interested in that. And that was the sign that the elder brother, who was then ruling, again, this earth had been ruling for a long time now, finally says, okay, this is also our time now. And all the Pandavas finally depart to Himalayas and conclude their chapter and give the kingdom to the grandson, Parikshit. And then we learn in this story further that Maharaja Parikshit became a great king and ruled the earth for many, 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 many generations. He was doing such a great job. And everybody, every single being, they were happy. His kingdom was great, the earth was great, he was ruling everything justly. And one day, Kali Yuga, the new age, this modern age that we are in, was about to start. And he wanted to have an entry. And he asked Maharaja Parikshit, give me an entry. And Maharaja Parikshit finally says, yeah, you can enter, but you can only enter. And he gives him certain places where the Kali Yuga, the modern age, can stay, such as in liquor, in places like casinos and other places, including when Kali Yuga says, that's not enough, give me something else. He says, okay, you can stay in gold. Parikshit's crown, the Maharaja's crown, was made of gold. Thus came the modern age and took over his sane mind. And the previous time, the yuga ended, the new yuga started, this modern age that we are in, Kali Yuga. And in that, so since the Parikshit Maharaj was now, his mind was taken by this modern age, the Kali Yuga, he was misguided in that one day he insults a rishi, a sage, Shamik, because he was simply going to the forest as the kings in those days were, for practicing their archery, and also for fun they would hunt animals. So he was going for that, and he was really thirsty and finds this sage sitting on a rock meditating, and simply doesn't realize that, because at that time he was wearing that gold crown, who was then taken by the modern age, meaning his mind was not with him. And Maharaja Parikshit insults Shamik Rishi and puts a dead snake that was laying around next to it on the sage's neck, insulting him, saying, hey, I am the king and you don't even give me the water. I have been yelling water, 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 and you don't realize it. And again, in that anger, commits that mistake, goes home, and during that time, the Shamik Rishi's son sees that. And his son Shringi starts crying, saying, oh, my great father, the sage, was insulted like that. And his father is still in meditation and unknowingly, or without realizing, without investigating properly, curses the Maharaja Parikshit that you shall die by a bite of the great snake Takshak, and you will die in 7 days. Eventually, the Shamik Rishi does wake up, sees his son crying and says, what happened? And the son says, I gave curse to some king that came and put the snake on your neck. And he sees the snake. Oh, it's just a dead snake. Again, this body is not the end. I was searching for the higher truth. It doesn't matter, insult or no insult. That's how one should be. One should remain neutral. And look what you did. Because the sage was capable of knowing who that person that had come was. He said, he was the Maharaja Parikshit, our king. The king that had been ruling so justly. You just cursed him to that. And Shamik Rishi warns King Parikshit that your time will end in 7 days because my foolish son, who did not realize what he was doing, without investigating, he gave this terrible curse to you that you will die from a bite of this great snake, Takshak. And you will die in 7 days. And look, the Maharaja Parikshit says, I was thinking, because as soon as I took my crown off of my head, I realized that I had committed a mistake, a grave mistake, for which I must be punished by death. So the king, I myself had already thought that I should be dead for creating such a havoc, for committing such a big mistake and insulting a great knowledgeable sage like you. So I accept this curse happily. Thank you for doing it. And then Shukdev appears and starts reciting the Srimad Bhagavat, because one's question that comes into Parikshit's mind that I'm going to die in 7 days, what does one do when he or she knows that he is going to die or she is going to die in a given time period? Again, detach yourself from this karmic life full of karma, good or bad. Detach yourself, search for the higher truth. So that's the answer. Listen, meditate on the higher truth. And the son of Vedavyas, who had created this Bhagavad Puran, recites the Puran to Parikshit to give him that realization that ultimate truth is what one shall seek. And we talked about the word Abhay. The meaning of the Abhay word is fearless. And how do you become fearless? When you realize the ultimate truth, you become fearless. Socrates comes in my mind. Know thyself. That is what Socrates had said. Know thyself. Again, meditate upon this higher truth. Know who you truly are. Who you truly are, you are the part of this existence, the cosmos. Align your energy to it and free yourself from this karmic life cycle, and you will become Abhay, fearless. That is all I have for you guys. Namaste.